Hello and welcome to Inside the Folder, a podcast that takes a look at a series I created called the Steele Dossiers. I'm your host, Francesco Di Francesco. Gentlemen, I have a grave warning to you. Beware of the dark waters, simply because an aquatic creature lurks in there. Has the upper body of a human female and a tail of fish that will lure you to a watery grave with her beauty and her voice. Yes, that's right. Today I am talking about mermaids and the Steele Dossier short, The Mermaid's Tale. However, before I get into that, I got not one, but two guests here on the show today. Let me introduce them. The first one, she is, okay, ready? I have to do a whole list here. She is an actor, a producer, a writer. I do believe she directed some stuff, and she does burlesque. She also played the mermaid in the Mermaid's Tale. Madelaine Maddie Rose.
Hi, thanks for having me, Frank.
Oh, thank you for being on the show. And then second up, we have he's an actor, a writer, and ready, get this, he's a paranormal ghost walk talker, host, walker, I'd say, all of the above. He speaks about the paranormal in Niagara Falls. That is Mr. Richard Cole.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Frank. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to say, Richard also played the informant in The Mermaid's Tale. Both of you, thank you for being on the show here. Also, thank you for being in my crazy madness of the paranormal Steele Dossier web series there. And there's a fantastic... So whoever's watching this right now on YouTube or Rumble, this is the first time I'm actually doing a video podcast with this. And we're joined by a furry, non-mermaid aquatic creature.
This is Freddie. Winifred is her full name. That is her name when she's in trouble. But her short form is Freddie, little Fred. She will probably join us. You might hear her. She occasionally meows. I also have a dog who occasionally barks. So if you hear any snorting or grunting or strange animal noises coming from my direction,
it's not Francesco.
It is me, but it's not me.
It's not Steele.
I can only imagine people who are just listening through this through audio is gonna think, no, that was me. All right. Like I said, thank you for being on the show. First question I'm gonna ask you guys, doesn't matter who goes first. Does either one of you have a favorite sort of myth or folklore legend?
I have a few. I mean, of course, being a paranormal investigator, I have a paranormal tour guide. Technically, I've had some interesting experiences, some very questionable experiences. But my favorite legend is, I don't know if either of you have heard, but the legend of Robert the Doll.
No.
So it's
I don't know this one.
Yes, similar to Annabelle, but Robert the Doll, he belonged to a man named Robert, and it was a gift given to him in 1904 by his grandfather. So he lived in Key West, Florida, and this doll, according to legend, it had supernormal abilities. It could move, it could change its facial expressions, and even giggled on occasion. And yes, so it is said that if you disrespect it, even to this day, that you will have bad luck for a long time. So it now sits in the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. And there has been crazy stories similar to Annabelle where people have disrespected it, as in taking pictures with it or trying to touch or do things and not apologizing. And later on in the day or week, apparently bad things have happened to some of these individuals. So call it what you will, coincidence or not. But when you've been a paranormal investigator, a paranormal tour guide, you believe less and less in coincidences, in my opinion. So that's my favorite legend that's not well known.
I like it. Maddie?
Well, first off, I want to know, does it work the opposite way? If you really respect the doll, if you, I don't know, say please and thank you to the doll and pay it a compliment, do good things happen to you?
Good question.
It is a very good question. I would hope it does. I mean, I like another reason why I like this legend is because I'm intrigued by the story. Not only obviously because of my fascination with the paranormal, but also because several individuals in my workplace have had paranormal experiences with a particular toy in our Go shop. So this toy has also been known to giggle, to say, or to not to say things, but to giggle. Apparently, it was found face planted in the middle of our Go shop floor in the morning. Someone came to open the shop, and all of a sudden it was face planted in the middle of the floor, porcelain doll, not broken, nothing at all, and it was like 8 feet away from the shelf that it sits on. And apparently, the piano at our shop started playing soon after the doll was placed in there. So I don't know how true that is, but I haven't had any coworker win the lottery, to answer Maddie's question yet. So, and we've respected the doll quite well. So that's another reason why I love the Robert the Doll story, because it's similar to this. It resembles the doll we have in our workplace, and her name is Lizzie. And
Ooh.
like I said,
Not
I mean,
Gordon, is it?
I can't say anymore. You'll have to come to the shop to find out. No spoiler alerts, but I would hope that you're right, Maddie. I hope that it does bring one good luck.
I would hope so. I'm gonna go around like complimenting all the dolls in my vicinity now, and like certainly not taking photos of them. Like that's kind of terrifying, but cool. cool. On my end, yeah, I don't know, there wasn't any particular legend that sort of stuck out at me, but funny enough that we're doing the mermaid episode, because I've kind of always been fascinated by sirens, and this idea, like when mermaids were presented to me as a kid, it was through like the Little Mermaid, and they were always presented as like friendly sort of half fish, half person type creatures. That's not the case. Not so friendly, and Frank, I'm sure you're going to get into it, but I have always found that concept of like not so friendly mermaids really kind of fascinating, and more on like the side of
Oh, I think she
I've always
froze.
kind of been drawn to, or that's oh, did I freeze?
You're
Yeah,
back.
that's gonna happen.
Welcome back.
This is
It's
technology.
it's the mean mermaids. There's the bad luck right there.
Yeah.
Or Robert, I don't know who.
Actually, I will touch upon sirens, because it is part of the mermaid sort of folklore. So I'm glad you brought that up. So awesome. I already know where Maddie's sort of head is at with mermaids. Richard, what's your kind of knowledge on mermaids?
Well, I'm going to age myself, as Maddie did so well. But yes, my my knowledge of mermaids basically was, as a child, King Triton and Sebastian communicating with each other. So being a 90s kid, the Little Mermaid was a common knowledge, of perceptive, like what you'd picture a mermaid to be would be something similar to the Little Mermaid. But I also had a little bit of knowledge on European and Greek like mythology. So there was one tale that I did know about, and it was her name is Thessaloniki. I don't know if anyone has heard of her before, but it's ancient Greek story, but it's obviously mythology, and she was Alexander the Great's sister.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yes.
I was going to include this story into my notes here, but I didn't. So Richard, continue.
Well, we can if you'd like. It's up to you. But yes, so Alexander the Great's sister. So she was cursed and thrown into the sea, the Aegean Sea, and it is said that she would either bless ships passing or curse ships passing. She would ask the question. This was around 295 BC. They said, and yeah, Thessaloniki was her name, and she would ask, "Is King Alexander alive?" as the passing ship went by. And if they said, "He lives and reigns and conquers the world," yes, he is alive, he lives and reigns and conquers the world, she would allow them to pass. And if not, she would generate a storm. So she'd conjure up a storm in the water, and it would eventually suck up the entire sailor and their ship, and that would be the end of them. So you had to answer her correctly, because if they answered any differently than no, King Henry is not alive, then yes, off with their head.
As I've been doing these episodes, I've been finding more and more. I knew this before with certain legends, but I've been finding more, depending on what region you are in and depending on how far back, like Greek mythology, Slavic mythology, all those kind of things, they each have similar but different interpretations of everything. And this is what's the amazing. Everybody thinks like everything's so far out, but no, when you really think about it, everything is actually. But with that said, shall I go into? I'm excited because you both have good history on the mermaids here. I'm gonna take out my notes, which is just all this stuff here. So let's get into the mermaid folklore, shall we? We already touched upon a little bit. We already touched upon a little bit of it. So some things might be a little repeated, but just when you guys have anything to say, just interrupt me. So as mentioned earlier, mermaids are half women and half fish. However, that was not always the case. If you trace back to its origins in Greek mythology, especially the Odyssey, they were called sirens, as Mandy mentioned, conceived as half woman and half bird. Dangerous creatures that lived nearby, dangerous creatures that lured nearby sailors with their enchanting music and singing voices to shipwreck on the rocky coast of their island. One story in the Odyssey, Odysseus, don't worry, every podcast I mispronounce a word anyways, was curious about the song of the sirens because no man lived to tell the story. So he ordered his sailors to plug their ears with beeswax and tie him to a mast. He ordered his crew to leave him tied tightly to the mast, no matter how much he might beg. Of course, when he heard the song, he wanted to be untied, but the crew just bound him tighter. And once out of earshot of the sirens, they untied him. So he was the only one to actually live to hear what the sirens actually sound like. However, some Homeric authors state that sirens were fated to die if someone heard their singing and escaped them. And after Odysseus passed, the sirens flung themselves into the water. So this is where it became the whole gradual shift of a bird woman siren into a fish-tailed woman. And this was believed to be around sort of the Hellenistic period, as they say. And, you know, we always talk about a mermaid why is it always female? However, in Greek mythology, as Richard brought up earlier as well, there was actually mermen. One example is named Glaucus, a fisherman who discovered a magical herb that would bring fish back to life when consumed. And obvious, you know, as curious nature would have it, he actually tried one of those herbs himself, and it resulted in his legs becoming a fishtail and a desire to live in the sea. Now considered immortal, he struggled with his newfound gift until the other deities of the sea taught him its secrets and the art of prophecy. He was then known to appear to people lost at sea and guide them to safety. And then, Richard, you brought up Triton, which Triton is the one with the long white hair and the long white beard, and, you know, he has like abs for days, and he kind of looks older. But over time with Triton, the image of that, so the mermaid, the women mermaid, they're all like beautiful and they look different. But for mermen, they based all their depiction of each merman based on Triton himself. So that's why they all look older with the beard and all that stuff. But it was so heavily associated with him that they were eventually just known as either Tritons or Tritoni, the musical fishmen of the ocean, which is
that sounds like a musical. That
That's
sounds like the title.
Yeah,
of
definitely. I see a Broadway production opening pretty soon.
Yeah.
Under the Sea. Oh, yeah, wrong musical. But it's interesting. Like what I found hilarious about this, like I mentioned earlier, like all the women have like the different kind of looks. Like there's blonde mermaids, there's redhead mermaids, there's dark, and then the men mermaid are just old men with white beard. Although they did change up, like Aquaman can be considered a mermaid. Um, so they did change that up, but we're going more traditional route to mermaids. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, some legends have many different stories throughout regions. So one particular story appeared in Assyria around 1000 BC about the goddess Atargatis, who loved a human shepherd and unintentionally killed him. And ashamed, she decided to throw herself into the water so she can drown and be with her lover again. She was also a god, a goddess. However, the other gods wouldn't allow her to die and made the ocean her new home, as well gave her a fishtail. Her legs turned into a fishtail simply because so she can move around in her new home. And the reason why she still has the upper body of a human was because the gods didn't want to hide her beauty. So that's why they kept her still half human that way. And now we're getting into, Maddie, I don't know if you know this one, because you brought up the whole sort of like, not evil, but more like scary sort of mermaids.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in the Slovak folklore, they are called Rasalka, which are female spirits luring young men to their death with the sound of their voices. So you can already see where the mermaid voice sort of comes from. There are believed to be young women who died from drowning because of an unhappy marriage. This was either due to a suicide, due to her being abused or harassed, or jilted by a lover, or murdered by said lover. As well, there's some other stories of they were drowned because it was like unwanted pregnancy, and just an unwanted pregnancy. And once they drowned, they were cursed that way to live in the water, sort of like a revenge sort of story. However, before the 19th century, the Rasalka, they were associated with fertility. See, I told you I mispronounced words. So during the spring, they would come out of the water and they would help regrow sort of crops. They would put their actual essence into the crops and help nurture the crops growing. But then after or during the 19th century, they were seen as more chaotic and unclean spirits. When young men would approach the riverbed, they would be memorized by the Rasalka singing. And when close enough, the Rasalka would entangle them in their long, vibrant hair and drag them into the water. They can also alter their appearance to suit their victims. So from afar, they would see like a beautiful, oh my God, look, a half-naked woman in the water. But as they get closer, the woman actually changes. Her hair turns into, I think it's, where is it here? Into a moldy green, and then her face distorts. So that's really more like the kind of look that the mermaids get. Like I said, if you're watching this on Rumble or YouTube and seeing the video form, you would get the whole. Otherwise, if you're just listening to it, you think I'm just blowing my garlic breath. No, not garlic. Sorry. So yeah. So then once the Rasalka death was avenged, their spirit was allowed to rest. As I said earlier, you can see kind of the similarities between mermaids and the Slovak folklore. The singing, the vibrant hair, the beauty, and because they would never seen really out of water, so they were always seen at like waist height in the water. It was, you couldn't see underneath, so it was assumed that they either had legs or they had fishtail. No one would know. And then, as I mentioned, in many other folklores and legends, Richard also mentioned that mermaids have been known to help anybody lost at sea, or they've been known to cause chaos, or they've been known to even just throw people off course just for no, oh, a gift from Zoom. Are we still recording? Yeah, it says like we went longer. Anyways, that is pretty much it about the basic legends of mermaids. Does anybody have anything they want to say before we cut to the clip? No, a lot of head shakings. No. All right.
No, I got nothing to add. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna cut to this clip of from Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, simply because there's mermaids in it, and when we get back, I'll say why I went to that clip.
My heart is pierced by Cupid. I disdain all glittering gold. There is nothing can console me but my jolly sailor bold. Come, all ye pretty fair maids, whoever you may be, like a jolly sailor bold that plows the raging sea. My heart is pierced by Cupid. I disdain all glittering gold. There is nothing can console but my jolly sailor bold. My heart is pierced by Cupid. I disdain all glittering gold. There is nothing can console me but my jolly sailor bold.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that clip of On Stringer's Tide of Pirates of the Caribbean, simply because that is the only sort of accurate depiction of mermaids ever on screen. I know it was brought up earlier, The Little Mermaid, but sorry, the ones in Pirates of the Caribbean is actually more of an accurate depiction of mermaids. And yes, if you're just joining us, I still have Maddie Rose and Richard Cole as guests here. And now we're going to get into the Steele Dossiers short, The Mermaid's Tale. I'm going to sort of kick this off by saying, originally, this wasn't going to get done if I couldn't find a mermaid or like a mermaid costume. So the first question, so the idea was to actually do mermaids, okay? It was like mermaids was on the list of, oh, this is pretty cool to do. Then I went, how? I don't have a mermaid costume. I don't, and then I remembered, I went, Maddie does burlesque. Let's give her the shot. And then when I came up to you, Maddie, I asked you, and yeah, when I asked you, what'd you think?
I think what happened actually was you sent me like a text message or a message on Facebook Messenger, however, you sent me a message and said, I don't even think there was any context. I think you just said, do you have a mermaid costume?
Yeah.
And it took me about 3 minutes maybe to go, I don't have a mermaid costume. Yes, I have a mermaid costume. I definitely have a mermaid costume. I've made a mermaid costume. Can I get access to a tail? I can get access to a tail. It's about 3 floors up. Yes. And then the message came back. Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect. And then once you said yes, my next thought was, okay, good. Oh, wait, I'm not going to have her be in a mermaid costume in the ocean or Lake Ontario here. Yeah. I went, how the hell am I going to do this? And with me, it's always, I like working with people that I like, first of all. Second of all, that I think I have good chemistry with. And third of all, the other options are like people I haven't worked with in a while, or I really want to work with. Just pretty much people I want to work with. And then I went, how am I going to bring this in without having like to go in the ocean half nude in the with all these people? And I thought, film noir, it needs an informant. I can easily do that. Oh, it could be in the informants. But Richard, you want to be the informant? And that's how it worked. It all came together. And then Richard, when I asked you to be the informant, what was going through your mind?
I was first, obviously, it's always a pleasure working with you, Francesco, ever since the first time we had gotten to the audition room together. So I knew it would be a great experience. I found it an interesting question, because I wasn't sure what type of informant I was going to be, because I've seen some of your cases before. So I wanted to know a bit more detail. Are we talking about Bigfoot here? Are we talking about something else? Then when you said mermaids, I was very intrigued, because I actually immediately felt connected to it. It sounds a bit strange, but I've been a swim instructor for 14 years, and I've taught over 8,000 people how to swim over the past nearly 60 seasons. So I'm aging myself a bit here. So I've known a lot of people who dream of being mermaids, and I've seen a lot of mermaid tales in my day. So I just suddenly felt right at home again. And I was very thankful for the opportunity.
Perfect. The only thing that could be another subject for another podcast. But yeah, so like everything came together, and I knew since it was a bathtub, it'd be easier to have you, Maddie, take the shots in your bathtub because more comfortable that way. Obviously, you didn't go to Richard's place and just laid there in his.
For the
bathtub,
record.
but it was you, Maddie, and Red who took the photos, which came out nice. And the reason why, because we couldn't do this in person. The reason why is because right here, we'll get into the short in a little bit, but right here is the actual prop that was used. And if I open it like good old Arthur Steele, oh, look at this.
That's me in a bathtub.
You in the bathtub. See you again in the bathtub. More in the bathtub.
My bathtub.
Yeah, technically the Informs bathtub. And I remember there was the discussion of like, do you take these in color or in black and white? And I specifically said do them in color because they pop more in the short itself, and it did work out. I still have those. No, they're not up on my wall. Some people.
I should make them into a calendar or something.
They're here, and I did two sets. But the second set I did give to you, Maddie.
You did, yeah. I still have them. Yeah, I love them. That was a fun day. That was a fun photo shoot. But fun fact, those tails are heavy.
Yes,
Yeah, they have some weight to them because they're essentially like a really big like sock or like bathing suit material that you sort of wriggle yourself into. But the end part is flippers. I think it's called a monofin. It's like two flippers that are stuck together, and that part has some weight to it. And it is they're kind of awkward. So all of those positions look great, but getting into them did not look great. There was a lot of swearing and a lot of rolling and a lot of water flopping.
They're very deceiving. They're very deceiving. And this also goes back to my time as a swim instructor. There was a time about 6 years ago when they became extremely popular, in particular for birthday parties. So we actually implemented a whole new set of rules and requirements when people were wearing mermaid tails. And we actually created an entirely new deep end test just for mermaid tails because they are very heavy and they are very, very difficult to control, especially underwater.
Wow.
So Maddie is not kidding. They're quite strange they feel very weird to put on.
Mm-hmm.
Although the only difference is, Richard, your swimmers had more room to move around in than Maddie did.
That is very true. Yes, my bathtub is only so big.
In a bathtub with no water. Do you didn't have water in there, right?
I think I did fill it up a little bit, just to have that continuity of like looking like I was a mermaid sitting in water, because a mermaid wouldn't be sitting in a bathtub if she didn't need water, right? So I think I did put water in there, but I didn't put in too much because I did have to like, move around and flip around at a certain point. But yeah, there was a lot of contorting, and the next day things hurt. that was an ab workout for sure, trying to like keep the fin up and then try and like completely rotate myself so the fin was behind me or something. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, there were some bruises and there were some ab muscles that were sore the next day for sure.
So based on what I'm hearing, you want to get back into your mermaid character so you can work out your abs again?
Definitely I do.
It's all about the abs.
Yeah.
Oh, she'll have a six-pack by Easter.
And on top of that, you only had one hand, sort of, because the other hand had to be holding a martini glass.
Oh yeah. We did a bunch of shots with a martini glass too. Yeah. So and I remember actually my tub getting kind of slippery too because I kept like putting a hand out or like and which started to get a little wet. So at some points I was like, take the picture, like I'm sliding. But yeah, it was still a lot of fun. It was. I mean, who doesn't love playing a mermaid?
Oh, based
It was
on
a good
what I'm
character.
hearing, I won't.
No, it was a good character to add to the resume, and I think those photos came out really great. So it was a lot of fun to have those.
They
Well,
should be hanging on your wall, Francesco. She looked lovely in all of them. They came out very well.
Thank you.
technically, as you can see, I'm actually on the Arthur Steele set. It's not set up as the set, but no, it's this one. This one is the one.
There you
Oh.
go.
I don't think you'll hold. If anyone's listening to this on the audio, I'm just hanging up a photo. Oh, and look, and it's beside Medusa with a snake.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was everything beforehand of how this mermaid tale came to be. And I did play on the words of tale because in the actual title itself it's T-A-L-E, and you know, mermaid's tail, haha, dad joke. Yay. But it worked, and then I made the, as I always say, the title card for the episode, which I love doing the title cards because it's the silhouette with the actual title in there. And I think the mermaid one might be my fourth favorite title card that I made. I think both Richard and Maddie are giving me looks and like, why isn't my episode the favorite one? But anyways,
I was gonna say it's my first favorite.
Oh, okay.
Mine as well.
Yeah.
My first favorite was seeing. Never mind, that's a different podcast that I ever said. So the short opens up. Steele is at his desk. He's actually reading, and it's my book. I wrote down the title. I was reading where is it here? The Grimm's Complete Fairy Tale book. I was actually reading that when we were filming, and then I had to close it. But originally, that wasn't the original opening for The Mermaid's Tale. The original opening, just in case nobody knows, as you saw earlier, I have my book here, but I save all like my other books. So I went through this thing, which actually has The Mermaid's Tale. If you're listening to it on audio, it looks like a very, what would you say, like old, beat up notebook?
Very 90s school.
I was gonna say
notebook.
very used, very well loved notebook.
Yeah, very used. Richard, very 90s, yeah. But I don't throw anything of those away because there's all my ideas in there. So when I went back to look for The Mermaid's Tale, it originally opened up with me writing about seeing my double. So it was going to continue on from the seeing Doppel episode. But then when I realized I can release these episodes in any kind of order I want, I sort of dropped that whole opening and just did the whole, I'm going to read the book. Oh, the phone's ringing. Too short, one long. My informant must have something. And then that's where we see the informant for the very first time, which the informant doesn't have a name, but who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line, but we're going to keep quiet on that. So Richard, so Maddie, you weren't actually on set ever. Whoever's listening to this, Maddie is actually meeting Richard for the first time. Technically.
New friends.
They never met on set. But my sister was there to help us film. And we went to Casa Loma. The original spot I had in mind was too heavy on the traffic, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it was too heavy on the traffic, the original spot, but it was a lovely day, quite warm day. So we were kind of expecting traffic to probably be on the heavier side, but not as heavy as it was.
It was, yeah. Then we moved it down in front of, so if you've ever been to Casa Loma, there's a little parquet off to the side. If you're staring right at it, it's to the left-hand side, and it's the Spadina Park. which is part of the Baldwin Steps. So we just sat there on a bench and we started filming there. One reference that I do, because my favorite actor has always been Cary Grant, which is hilarious. I might as well say it now, which is hilarious because Richard actually played Cary Grant's role in Arsenic and Old Lace on stage, which is a role I always want to do. It's a good role. But another film that he did called, with Shirley Temple, in 1947, a comedy romance called The Bachelor and Bobby Soxer. The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer. That is, when we say you remind me of a man.
What man?
The man with the power.
What power?
So when we say that whole line, that's actually from that movie.
I love that.
And it's like, I highly suggest, if anyone hasn't seen it, to watch that 1947 comedy romance. It's hilarious. Like I said, I like Cary Grant, but it's hilarious. And the way he says, "You remind me of a man." What man? Man with the power. It's gold. It's gold. So as soon as I heard that, I went, I'm gonna put this in for it to be our sort of like, is the coast clear? Yeah, the coast is clear. Did anybody follow you? Yeah, no one followed me. Sort of, kind of speak to kick things off. Normally with all these podcasts, I've been talking about my experiences. So I'm gonna let you two take the floor. Even Maddie, I know you weren't on set, but like, you two take the floor if you want to say anything about experiences on set, experiences filming. There is one thing I'll bring up in case it doesn't get brought up, but you two can go ahead.
Well, it was obviously a pleasure, and it was an absolute pleasure as well meeting your sister for the first time, because I like how when you're working with people you work well with, immediately you'll bond right from the start, and you have a short span of time. So it was a great experience. We were there for only an hour or 2 hours, but you become a little family in such a short span of time. And I found this also quite an intriguing story, because the individual whom this short is named after is not even in attendance. So I found that intriguing as well, because it's a unique experience when you're discussing a subject and the subject is nowhere to be found other than photographs. So I found, yes, so obviously you have to build that anticipation, and that was a good challenge as an actor. You're moving closer and closer, like, okay, what do you have for me? What do you have for me? And then I explain mermaids, but you're not going to see any, you're just going to see the picture of them because we don't have any ocean nearby. So I found that also a good challenge as an actor, is discussing a subject, but not having that subject directly in front of you, and having an action and reaction experience. So that was quite intriguing as well. And I really wouldn't change much, aside from the overachiever lady who had to get her 50 bike laps in before 6 p.m. And aside from that, other than that, it was a phenomenal experience. It was quite warm, but I'm someone who enjoys summer, and I don't mind the 28 degrees, even in a suit. I know that's scary, but it was well worth it.
I will say, with the biker, this is the second time in this series, Richard and I are sitting at this bench. The camera is positioned a little bit further away to get both of us. And when you see somebody taking pictures or like a video camera, you kind of want to slow down and go around. But no, this is the second time in the Steele Dossiers where they just rode right in front of camera and right past. And we're just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she gave us a look. That was the second time. She's like, but going back to the subject of the mermaid, do you know why the mermaid is named Mary? Can anyone guess? The one who is the name should be easily guessed.
I was gonna say I have a theory. I have a thought.
Okay.
Is it because my burlesque name is Mary?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the burlesque name that I go by is Mary Bobbins. There's a whole story for that, but yeah, Mary Bobbins, and that the bra that I'm wearing for the mermaid costume is one that I made for burlesque purposes. I'm
not gonna show it.
as you're like
Very
examining
cool.
it. Yeah.
You go like this one.
Yes, those are my boobs right in the camera. Yeah. Yeah, I made that bra. I made it, or like I just got a bra and then put like, I cut out like foam. I'm very big into like dollar store showgirl type stuff of like how can I get materials from the dollar store and make them look really great. So that is foam that I cut into shell shapes and just got like from the dollar store little like pearls that I like glued all around it. And there's a lot of glue making up that bra, and she's also kind of heavy because there's so many rhinestones and so much glue on it. But yeah, that was used for burlesque purposes once upon a time.
Nice. And don't worry about Dollarama, because the Steele Dossiers has been propped up by Dollarama in many different cases. It's not where it comes from, it's how it's used.
Yeah, but I kind of love that. I think that there's so many amazing things about the film industry, but there are also some things that I think can totally be improved on. And I think one of those things is the amount of money that we spend sometimes, and where that money is spent, like the amount of money spent on things like props when it should probably go to paying your artists and feeding your artists and those kinds of things. So I'm a big fan of like, how can I make something out of nothing?
Yeah, that's what I always do with the whole kind of like, because I have, whoever's been listening to every show will know that I have a whole collection of like costumes and props. And as opposed to going, you know what, I don't have this, let me make something and then buy it, even though it might cost like $50,000, right? I'm on the other spectrum where it's like, I have this, how much, the metaphor I like to use is, how much juice could I squeeze out of the orange before it's been squeezed enough, right?
Mhm.
And that's why, you know what, I'll bring this up, I'll just bring up this little tidbit, like the Easter egg, the golden egg, where the informant comes back in the cosmic egg. That's been used in my Enchanted Mafia series for the Easter bunny, right? So I always constantly reuse props. And, you know, if there's something missing, Dollarama, how can I rig this to look like this? And everything works perfectly.
Yeah, actually, that costume that I used, that, or at least that bra portion, was actually from another short film that was first used in a short film, and I'm completely blanking on the name of it now, but it was like the first short film I ever did.
Oh,
It was the same thing of like, do you have some sort of mermaid costume? And I was like, I can make one, and I did. So yeah, I've gotten some juice. I've squeezed some juice out of that costume for sure.
and then Richard, what about, well, your costume is like regular clothes, right?
I am so glad that I own 3 black suits. I got a linen one. I got yes, for every season, one for every season. So, and a black tuxedo. So I got one for every season, like completely. But yes, mine was the black suit, and it's definitely gotten its use. I've played a few. As Maddie has played more than one mermaid, I've played more than one detective / informant. I've only been labeled informant once, so this is the special one. But I've played several detective roles requiring a black suit.
Sweet. I think that's about it in terms of like sort of behind the scenes, so to speak, of the Mermaid's Tale. What were your guys' favorite part, or favorite line, or favorite anything?
I can't choose. I love the entire thing, in all honesty. It just flowed quite well, and you had to watch it from start to finish, and I didn't find any second where I wasn't that I liked it more than the other.
Yeah, and I mean, any day I get to be on set is a good day, and any day that I get to dress up as a mermaid is a good day. That's one of the like best parts about acting, is getting to play different things that you don't normally get to play, and it's always fun getting to play a mermaid. But I will say, as far as the actual short itself goes. That line that you mentioned earlier from the Cary Grant movie, I didn't know that it was from there, but you guys delivered those lines so great, because I rewatched the short recently in preparation for this podcast. I wanted to refresh my memory, and I was like, oh yeah, those lines that you guys said, those are really great. So that's awesome that you brought it up now and pulled it from somewhere.
And I love how, and I also enjoy how Francesco just has to explain what a mermaid is to the audience, even though I'm sure everyone knows. But I just love that you asked for one of my favorite moments. That probably is one of my favorite moments when he just describes what a mermaid is. It's like, I have mermaids. You're like, mermaids? And then all of a sudden you go into female and tail of a fish, and I'm like, yeah, that's that mermaid. That's the one I'm talking about.
And I think I had to say, because I didn't have because I was worried about audio, so I actually said it like yelling too. The aquatic creature. Well, I can't do it.
Yes, that's one more thing. That's one more thing I might have changed, was the wind speed that day.
Yeah, that's what I did. And then I would say I would change the speed of when we leave, I actually walk around camera and point the camera up to the tree, because I wanted it to be like, because you do mention, the informant does mention the Men in Black. He took the mermaid from the Men in Black.
Men in Black.
So yeah, I wanted to point it at the tree to be like someone was there listening in on our conversation. But I did it a little too fast, where I think I should have been slowed down a little. But this is the things you learn for future stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So if nobody has anything else to say, I just want to thank you and Richard, Matt. And this is all recorded. I just want to thank you, Richard, and you, Maddie, for being on the show today, as well for also being on the Mermaid's Tale. Obviously, it's already out now. Obviously, we know the informant comes back, but I will say, who knows? Maybe the mermaid is still in his bathtub. But I'm gonna leave that there. Leave everybody on suspense there. What I always like to do at the end of this is I like to do a quote that's sort of like related to the topic. So this one is from a poet by the name of J. Iron Ward. So here's the quote. She is a mermaid, but approach her with caution. Her mind swims at a depth most would drown in.
Ooh,
So-
I like that.
Yeah.
That's deep, literally.
Mhm.
Ocean deep.
Mariana's
that-
Trench deep.
Mariana Trench. So with that said, again, thank you guys for being on this podcast here. Whoever's listening / watching, thank you for listening and watching. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know what? Yeah, I always tell them to do something physical. Does anybody, not in that way. I got in trouble with my sister the last time. She's like, physical, but I mean like a thumbs up, a smile, or that kind of stuff. Do any of you want the whoever's listening, watching, to do a physical movement?
Oh, yeah, go, I mean, consensually, of course, but go pet a furry creature.
There you go. I agree.
A furry creature in terms of animal,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Yes.
Not, so if you do that, I'm pretty sure all our souls will feel that, even though we can't see it. And with that said, remember, nothing in this world is what you think it is.